Unsolved.
The JonBenet Ramsey case. Let us follow the evidence. 2. Dr. John Myers' observations. There was livor mortis on the right side of her face. There were petechial hemorrhages on the upper and lower eyelids. There was a green substance in her hair, consistent with garland. There were dark fibers and a dark hair on her shirt. There were several small areas with dry blood on her lower body. The black fluorescent light indicated seminal fluid or blood on her upper, inner, right, and left thighs. The child's pubic area had been wiped with a cloth. The autopsy report indicated 7 items, and I think they're in order of importance. Number 1 was the ligature strangulation, because she had these petechial hemorrhages. 2 was the skull fracture. That was kind of a surprise finding. 3 was an abrasion to her right cheek. 4 was an abrasion and contusion of her right shoulder. 5 was abrasions on her left lower back and left lower leg. 6 was abrasion and vascular congestion of the vaginal mucosa, the lining of the vagina. And 7 was the ligature of the right wrist. There was a skull fracture 8.5 inches in length from the top, back, middle, approximate middle, continuing forward. There was a 1 3/4 inches by 1/2 inch broken fragment of her skull that was in the back, approximate middle of her head. The stomach contained a small amount, 8 to 10 cc's, of contents. There appeared to be fragments of pineapple in her duodenum. There were abrasions and chronic vascular congestion to the vaginal walls. There was birefringent foreign material in her vagina, and that ends the report. Now this section talks about her vagina, and there would be nothing listed here if there was no trauma. Now a whole lot of information came about from the autopsy. So on December 26, when I did my notes, I was missing a lot of information. For example, that JonBenet was definitely sexually assaulted. It looks like she suffered from prior sexual abuse. She had a massive injury to her skull, so we need to find the weapon that caused that. He found a substance that he believed to be fragments of pineapple, and so we saw the bowl on that dining room table. So we have to look more into that. And we still have to get fingerprints back on the flashlight and to test the adhesive side of the duct tape. And now I think we can definitely go in and ask John and Patsy some questions about what they know about December 25th and possibly December 26th. What did you do after you left Fleet White's house? We left the Whites and we took a basket to the Walkers. And I recall Patsy went in and I stayed in the car. We drove to the Steins and did the same thing and debated on whether to go to the Fernies or not. But it was getting late and that was a ways away, so we decided to go home. So we probably got home around 9-ish, 9:15 I think. I drove in the back through the alley into the garage. JonBenet had fallen fast to sleep. I carried her inside and I took her upstairs and put her in bed. Put her on her bed. Patsy came in behind me, and then I went down to get Burke. Did you check all the first floor doors on the morning of December 26th? Yeah, I went down and looked around the house. I believe I checked all the first floor doors. Yeah, I did go out once. I went out to the door that leads into the garage to see if it was locked because there's a bunch of boxes piled in front of it, and you couldn't get to it from the inside of the garage. So I did in fact go out of the house once. What does that represent there? Well, it's a large spoon, not a teaspoon. It looks like Patsy's good silver. I guess that could be pineapple. I can't tell. Well, the Fernies or the Whites, or there were a lot of people in the house that would not be like us to leave that. Certainly not leaving the next morning on a trip. To leave it like that out. That's a big bowl, whatever it is, if it's pineapple. But that would not have been left out by us, where it would be for any extended period of time. And that is a huge bowl of pineapple, or whatever it is, and a big spoon. I'm picking up on my spidey sense that John doesn't want to acknowledge that is pineapple in that bowl. Lunch break, and after the break, I'll have a few more questions for John, then Patsy. What kind of flashlight do you have? Well, we got several, I guess. One that I believe came up as an item was this mag light flashlight. If it's the one I think it is, my son gave me that for a Christmas present a year or two ago, and that was probably in the bar. The bar drawer was typically where it was kept. What did you tell Fleet White about the broken basement window? I said, this window's broken, but I think I broke it last summer. It just hasn't been fixed, and it was open, but I closed it earlier, and we got down on the floor and looked around for some glass, just to be sure that it hadn't been broken again. This is very important. That blanket, was it like there was care taken? It was neatly folded? I thought so, yeah. It wasn't like it was just barely thrown over her. No, it looked like somebody was trying to make her comfortable because it was under her, completely under her head and brought up around as if it would wrap a papoose? A papoose. After a tough day of interviews with John Ramsey, had dinner at Red Lobster. Couldn't pass up that all-you-can-eat shrimp. What did you do after you left Fleet White's house? Walkers and dropped off a little gift, and Steins and dropped off a little gift, and drove home, and JonBenet was asleep. She had fallen asleep in the car. Well, she was just really zonked, and John carried her up to her room, and, ran up behind him and in front of him. I can't remember. Maybe it might have been in front of him to turn the bed down. And he laid her down, and I got her undressed and I left her shirt on her, went into the bathroom and tried to find some pajama pants, and all I could find were some long underwear pants. What kind of flashlight do you have? I recall it was in one of those junk drawers there in the bar area. Right, yeah, one of those drawers. Yeah. When you're talking about the drawer that the flashlight was normally kept in, refer back to that other picture. The drawer by the sink? Yeah. Bottom of the staircase? Yeah. Well, we asked Patsy about the bowl of pineapple on the table, and she swears up and down that she didn't put it on the table and has no knowledge of it being there, and she would never put it out like that anyway. And then we tested her handwriting. She gave us a handwriting sample that she did in the police station, and we compared that to the ransom note, and she scored a 4.5 out of 5, with 1 being a complete match and 5 being not a complete match. We have to get these items DNA tested. The 2 stains on the underwear, and then the stain on the long johns, and then the blood stain on the white blanket and on the pink Barbie nightgown. And there's a couple other areas that need to be tested also. Well, the DNA test results came back real quick. What a lab. And it shows that all the stains were JonBenet's DNA, except for 2. The blood stain on the panties and under her fingernails. Those were a mixture, with JonBenet's the majority component and the unknown male the minority component. The more you learn about the JonBenet Ramsey case, the more you see that John lies about the details. He denies knowing the bowl of pineapple was out. He even denies that he's not sure if it is pineapple in the bowl. And he suggested that the Whites or Fernies might have got it out on the morning of December 26, which would be impossible if pineapple was in JonBenet's digestive system. And that shows that JonBenet was not asleep when they got home. And they use words like zonked and fast asleep, etc. And then John Ramsey lies about his flashlight. He denies that that flashlight that was out in the kitchen was his flashlight that he received as a gift from his son. And then he lies about the broken glass by the basement window down there. Now they say that there was glass down on the floor and on the suitcase. But at the time, John Ramsey said they couldn't find any broken glass around the window. And then John, for some reason, lies about the time. He first said that they got home shortly before 10 p.m., but now it's more like they got home at 9:15, which wouldn't make sense because he said that he put Burke to bed at 10 and he went to bed at 10:30. So they had to have been home close to 10 because John said he played with Burke for like 15 minutes putting a toy together. So, and then there's lying about when he obtained the lawyers and several other things that I can't recall right at this moment. Well, this ends this episode of Unsolved, and on the next episode, Nancy Drew will present the accusation based on this investigation. And don't forget, Santa Claus is coming to town, so be ready for that.